Boom! Here we go. Keith Thurman, Showtime Shawn Porter. People, be careful about getting too caught up in how people use fear. Fear can be taken two ways. You can utilize it as energy to fuel where you're going, or it could be the first steps in the stages of your demise. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Eric A. Bradley, aka The Real Fight Doctor, and there is no other on this level. So, like I said before, be careful how you utilize fear, because fear could take everything that you have coming to you and totally strip it right from your sights. And that's what I see is happening right now. The fuel that could be used to take this fight to the level that it was necessary to reach has been stripped. Why is that? How do you know? Where's your credentials? Where's your credibility? How do you know this? Why are you just not a regular fanboy? Well, like I said before, I am the real fight doctor, and I didn't just get that because I just pulled it off the side of a Cocoa Crispy box. I've earned my name. How? I've worked with over 15 world champion fighters, and I've put my work in the gym like no other. So the guys that are out there doing it now, welcome to hell, because that's what it is. And the sacrifice day in and day out on a regular basis is the main thing that I'm going to get into today. Years ago, just years back, Hasim Rockman, we were up in Baltimore. We drove from North Carolina to Baltimore to give Hasim Rockman some quality work. One of the reasons that I understand my role in the sport of boxing is because there was a guy, he was coming up, they called him the Beast. He was making his way up the ladder. His coach, I won't even say his name, but he's a well-celebrated coach in the Northeast area, and he was working with this guy. And when the guy was coming up, Hasim Rockman, and he would spar, and Hasim Rockman, of course being the champ, he would blow him out the water. That's what your mentor is supposed to do. He's supposed to blow you out the water. So when you go up into that gym, you better know. So Beast would come to me and he said, I want you to start working with me and doing some of the things that I see you do. So he came down. He was working with one of my fighters, and we started doing a lot of work together. I was working his corners. We was getting prepped. And then we went back up to Baltimore to give Hasim Rockman that work. And this is where I tell you to be careful about how you utilize fear. He was about to fight Klitschko. Pay-per-view event. It was about to literally go down, my friends. So we was putting in the work. So Beast looks at me and is like, look, Hasim Rockman, every time we get ready, this is what you call craft. Every time we get ready to square off in the ring, he's always nice before we get going. And then all of a sudden, when that bell go off, boom, he drops the hammers on me. Every time. He gets me out of my game plan, and then he starts to drop hammers. Well, that's what we call, baby, utilizing conversation, schmoozing to get the other guy losing. Hasim Rockman was wise. He understood that Beast is 6'7" with shoes off, 265 in total shape, can run 15 miles and then do 15 rounds. This is the real deal. I did a style matchup. Needless to say, I was pointing out what Shawn Porter did wrong and would cost him in this fight, and the same thing with Keith Thurman. Kenny Porter got wind of that video, saw it, and put a bet on the fact that his son would do just not what I said he would do in that fight, which is all well and good because I know he's a coach and he's a listener. So anytime you have a coach that's willing to listen, a coach will always continue to get better. Teddy Atlas, those guys continue to get better. Virgil Hunter continue to get better. Shawn Porter's dad, Kenny Porter, continues to get better because he knows the essence of what it takes to build a fighter, and you have to constantly be a sponge. So he took it, and I embraced that because I was just glad to know that from the looks of things, if he leaned in, walking in there on Keith Thurman, that uppercut was going to come into play, and that hook right hand. And you know what? I know they went straight into that camp and said, hey, we definitely got to make sure these things are sharp. But Sean Porter is so sharp right now with his leg movements. He's constantly in and out. He's fixing those little things, and he's constantly been fixing. So I had to wind that off now. But when it's said and done, you got to be careful when it comes down to that fear. Because utilizing fear in the wrong way could be the demise of your career. Fear shrank Klitschko prior to fighting Tyson Fury. Injury, postpone the fight, fight night, still get it handed to you. These are the things I'm talking about. Pacquiao using the excuse after the fight. Why? Because he was afraid to face the fear that there was a fighter better than him, better than he in this era, even though they proclaim him to be the best in this era. Fear can shrink you the same way that it shrank Klitschko. Klitschko postponed the fight with Tyson Fury. Then he got in the fight and looked the part. He was afraid. He was afraid to do what was necessary to do to take that title. Then you look at Manny Pacquiao making an excuse after the fight with Floyd Mayweather. How would he possibly do that when the fight was over? Because he didn't want to face the fear of the simple fact that Floyd could actually be better, or just a better pure fighter. These are the things that I'm talking about. The night that we got Hasim Rahman ready for Klitschko, people here in those camps, they understand what's going on. They got people whispering, this man is looking good. This man is breaking fighters down in camp. Klitschko pulls out of the fight and retires. Yes, and this is the big brother. You know why? Because he had already heard wind of this. He's gotten wind of this boy's in camp, breaking cats off. He broke one of my fighters' ribs, bruised it really bad. Then he was just walking through other sparring partners that were walking that line, and they were the part. Why did Klitschko decide to pull back? Because at the pay-per-view rally that we had at ESPN Zone in Baltimore, he didn't want any parts of it. Here we go with all the lights and all the flash and all the cameras. Klitschko was not feeling the adrenaline that he felt. And the way Rock looked at that time, if any one of these heavyweights looked this way, the way Hasim Rahman looked at that time, you knew that whenever you saw him, if you've never seen boxing before, this guy must be the heavyweight champ. He just had that look. You know what I'm saying? You just don't see human beings that look that way. And that's why I can identify fear that is not being utilized in the right way. So if it looks like tuna, it smells like tuna, it definitely ain't swordfish. And Keith Thurman starting to smell like the chicken of the sea. That's where it is. They call me the fight doctor. And I thank you guys for watching. Because you're watching Master Boxing. And this is where we break the fight world down, baby. Round by round. Shouts out to the Zell family. Tony Zell, that is. Hashtag bring back the belts. That's a specific shout out to that posse. Be sure to watch us and listen for us on our podcast, The Boxing Bridge, on SoundCloud, and you can find us over on Tumblr as well. Follow my boys over at BrooklynFights.com, where you're going to get the best interviews and you're going to get that live fight footage. Everything is thorough whenever you follow the Fight Doctor. So long.